How's it going? My name's Danny, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video slash channel in the world ever, Squatch Woodshop. I'm a new woodworker, and I don't really know what I'm doing yet. So I made this channel to document my journey and hopefully teach some people along the way with my various mistakes and maybe a few victories. So if you're into that, stay tuned because I plan on posting pretty consistently. Today, I'm going to be showing you how I built this. This is called a Mölkky set. It's a yard game, in case you haven't heard of it. I think it has origins in Finland, at least Scandinavia somewhere. Basically, you throw a skittle. It's called a skittle. It's like a baton. You throw this thing at those pins and you get points. That's basically the gist of the game. But as you can see, the skittle that I made broke apart during our field test, if you will, during a camping trip. So I'm going to show you how I built this thing, and then I'm going to repair this and show you how I got it back together. Yeah, so join me and I'll show you how I did it. Alrighty, so I just set my saw up for about 3 inches. The standard sizes for the set, it's about 2.5 inches for the thickness, and so I just wanted to give myself some extra room because some of these pieces were just old shelving that had like a little round over on the outsides, so I had to kind of sneak up on the size. So I went with 3 inches and I shaved them down to the right size later on. And before you crucify me, internet, I know that my saw was kind of wobbling around here a little bit. My feet were not level with my floor just yet. This is a job site saw, so it doesn't really have a stable base, and my floor is not flat at all. So I did fix this later on, but first, starting out ripping these, it was a little unstable, so I should have fixed that right away. So here I'm just cutting everything down into usable sections. There was a lot of cracking and splitting after these had just been sitting in my basement for a while, so I had to find some sections that were usable. So after that, I just set up a stop block and started cutting everything down into blanks for those pins. And the standard sizes, again, the lengths on the pins are about 6 inches, and the baton, the skittle, is I believe about 9 inches. That was just what I found finding standard sizes when I had looked them up, so that's what I went with. And here you can see me setting my saw down to thin out this juniper. To get to the right size of 2.5 inches, I had to make these a little bit thinner. So that's just what I'm doing here. I ended up doing it for all the pieces, but just showing you how I did it here. And then next is that acetone treat that I was telling you about. You can see that's kind of discolored on the outside. I think that's just Danish oil or something, just some kind of oil finish. So I ended up wiping everything down with acetone first to hopefully get a better glue up on these, and it seemed to work just fine. The only issue I had, as you could see from the intro, is just that the skittle, laminating that together, but I think that had more to do with the red below than the finish on the wood. So these all ended up turning out really good. And then here you can see I'm gluing up the skittle once I had all my pieces in place. Just did the same thing with the acetone on sections of the fur, but like I said, it didn't really matter in the end. So if you end up using this wood, just keep that in mind. I don't really know for sure if that was the issue, but it seemed to me like that's the seam that broke, was between the below and the fur. So a neighbor ended up giving this to me, and I just have a whole tub of it. So I'm trying to use it up. So I'm just going to have to find a better use for it, I guess. But I really like the way it looks, and you know, if you can make it work, it's definitely worth using. It's a very deep red color, like a wine red. So here I'm just cutting off the excess that I had on the blanks. I was telling you that there's some roundovers on some of those pieces of wood. You can kind of see the bigger gaps on the side. That's basically what I'm just doing here, is getting it down to the 2.5 inches that I needed for the standard size. So I didn't show you all of it, but that's basically what I did for all of the blanks here. I had to go in 2 different batches of 6. There's 12 total. That was the first batch there. So once I had all the blanks squared up, then I turned my blade to a 45 just to take off the corners and give it kind of a relative round shape. And I had to use a couple of push sticks for this because, yeah, it was a little too close for comfort. So you can actually see I got a little too close with one of my sticks and hit the blade and took a chunk off of it. So be safe out there. Make sure you're being very deliberate with your movements. But yeah, you can see right there that got the edge of my stick. That could have been my finger otherwise. So yeah, just make sure you're being safe. I'm pretty excessive about safety, so, and you should be too. So once I had all my blanks, I went back to the miter saw and basically just took a 45 off of one side, and that's what they ended up looking like, with the fir in the middle and the juniper on the sides. Once that was done, I just took some strips from some old 2x4s, some construction fir, and glued up a panel for the bottom of the crate. I did have to plane this by hand afterwards, but I couldn't show you that. I just don't have enough time in this video. This is long enough as it is. And here I'm just screwing on the corners of the crate to the panel once it was glued up and planed. And these are just the slats for the outside that I ended up screwing on with just some cabinet screws. So this is where I'm repairing the skittle. I already had it glued back up, so it's the same shape it was before, but now I just drilled the ends of it in the center and drove in a timber lock screw. It's a big lag screw. I think it's about 5 inches long from each side, just to keep it all together while you're using it. After that, I put one of the leftover blanks that I had from the set onto the lathe and turned down a dowel to fit in the ends for a plug to kind of cover up the head of the screw there. So once the dowel was all turned down, I just cut off a couple of sections and used that as a plug on each end and left it overnight. So once that was finished and all dried up, I cut off the excess with a flush saw, as you can see here, and I sanded everything down to 220 with my orbital sander. Sorry I couldn't show you any of that, but like I said, this video is already 14 minutes long, so I was trying to keep it short, and I figured you probably didn't want to watch me sanding for like a half an hour. So that's all I ended up doing, sanding down to 220, and I finished everything with teak oil. So this is what I ended up with. And look at that. I think it looks pretty good. Expectations were pretty low for this. This is the first set I've ever made. So I think it turned out all right. The plugs are a little off center. You can see, whatever, kind of giving myself a break on that. There's some dings in the fir and the juniper just from using it. So keep that in mind. This will get dinged up unless you use something really hard like oak or hickory or something. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with it. I think what I would do differently next time is with the numbers that I put on the pins. I don't know if you can see that, but let me get my camera here. You can see there's a little bit of bubbling and overspray. I think this is one I showed you before. Let me give you a better one. You can see how gnarly that looks. So if you're gonna make one of these, I would recommend not using spray paint. Probably a method that works with paint. I just didn't do it right, so it kind of turned out sloppy. So there's 12 pins plus the baton slash skittle, and then you can get fancy too and make a crate like I did. Just makes it easier to carry around and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's it. I can't really show you any footage of me using it because it's raining outside right now, but maybe in another video I'll show you, me testing it out. But like I said, we already used it and it works just fine. But yeah, that's it for me. Until next time, keep watching, and you know what to do down there. Have a lovely day, and I will see you next time. Make some cool stuff. Talk to you soon.